Okay. Why, hello there. Today is day 606 of watching the Elden Ring trailer. 606 days since it was first announced at E3 2019. And I am joined once again by Omnipotent. Omnipotent, thanks for coming on 2 days in a row.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And for this episode, if you're tuning in now and you're like, oh, Omnipotent's here, oh my god, big leaks or something. Watch the other day first because we sort of cover the introductions there and everything. But watch that first and then jump here. But today, before we enjoy the trailer for the 606th day, XX asked, "Do you think Elden Ring will have PvP and co-op?" And they're wondering how that's done in an open world. And you've spoken a little bit about that. I believe you were the only source to actually say anything about this. So why don't you go ahead and answer that question first?
Uh, well, I can say that there is in fact PvP and co-op in the game. How exactly that works and the details and minutiae of that, that's a bit beyond me. I'm not a PvP guy. Once again, I'm bad at these games, and honestly, most games I play, there's a reason I don't play multiplayer games in general. So, yeah, I've not really bothered to familiarize myself with the specific details on how all that works. I know that there are some interesting things
Yeah.
being done with a co-op in particular, kinda, sorta. Can't really go into more detail than that, or I'm definitely gonna get in trouble. But PvP, I have no clue. But I do know that it is in fact in the game, and but I guess something that we kind of touched on yesterday that would be applicable here is that there is, at least last time I checked, there was more weapons and armor and shit in this game than any previous game. So I guess that should be exciting for people who like to mess around with their builds and stuff and do different stuff. And I'm not sure how that will translate into PvP, but I suppose it's tangentially related. So
Yeah.
that should be pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in seeing how that shakes out myself. I know I could probably just go find out, but I'm not that interested if I'm being real. But I'm interested in seeing kind of silly things that people get up to
Mm-hmm.
with PvP and co-op in these games, or in Elden Ring in particular. Um, One of my favorite videos from the Souls community is I don't even know if it's on YouTube anymore, but it was just like it was a Dark Souls 2, and it was this dude dressed up as a butterfly,
Yeah.
and he would like go around fucking with people. Like people would summon him as a Sunlight Bro, and he like he was just fucking with the platforms in Iron Keep and other stuff, just using the traps on people, and I thought that shit was hilarious.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see more stuff like that with all the new systems and whatnot, and the new ways people find to like fuck with people. That's
Yeah.
something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a similar boat where I don't engage heavily in PvP. I love having invaders in the Souls games, and I will co-op a boss that I want to get more of and like helping people out or whatever. But it will be interesting to see how it's done. And it's not particularly similar, but something like Ashen is a sort of like an open world Souls like game where there was some co-op. And you think of open world and you're like, oh, how are they going to make that work? It'd be totally different when you can't just fog gate off something. But like in Ashen, which was just like co-op, it worked pretty well and it worked fine. It sort of had that like Destiny style, like here someone's popping in. So there's things that they can do, and I'm speaking from a pretty ignorant place on it because instead of saying I'm bad at it, which I totally am, I'll just try to phrase it like I'm more interested in exploring the narrative and lore, which is what anybody who's bad at PvP probably says. But yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely the case for me.
yeah. But yeah, so it's like there's not too much known about it, and it's like when just like talking with you and stuff is when certain things are not said. I just want to like say for people is like a lot changes in development, and sometimes if you hear something, and I'm sort of speaking for you here a little bit, so you can correct me if I'm
Yeah, no
wrong, but like
worries.
but like I know that there's reasons to not give away details because like even if you hear something from a year ago, it could totally change. And like especially with From Software, if you look at any of their games, if you look at the work that like Lance McDonald or Illusory Wall do, like look at how much cut content there is in every single game. If you talk to someone there's a reason in my marketing videos From Software, Bamco has marketed cut content in every single game because From Software, they are they throw 1,000 ideas out there and then they're real picky and they eliminate them and just harvest just the best ideas. And I'm sure that in your position, like you can know something, but it doesn't mean it's going to be true now. And you don't want to get someone's hopes up. So just as a fun thing, because I love development process and I love following From's development. And I think it's kind of exciting that like, it's hard even for you to know what the finished product is going to be like because they're so intent on changing things until it's just how they want it.
Yeah, that's why I try not to, make promises about certain things and not get into like the minute details of how specific things work, especially in terms of like specific gameplay mechanics and stuff along those lines, or you know, other stuff in kind of a similar vein, is because, like you said, stuff does change a lot. Like even between the reveal and now, hell, even between the reveal and the first TGA since reveal, I know stuff was changing, and like something that sounded really cool that they were working on, a bit before the reveal was no longer in the game by the time TGA rolled around.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really, I choose not to bring up things like that because like you said, shit changes, and I can't really promise that something that's in the game now is going to be in the game later. But I prefer to focus on broad strokes details, things
Yeah.
that are kind of like the pillars of design, stuff that's not going to change.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know Illusory Wall always makes as sort of a warning in his videos when he's dissecting cut content. He says like, this idea probably sounds really cool, and you're like, damn, this would have been a better game with that idea in it. And it's like maybe, but also like there's like a reason, and there's only so much time, and like they cut it
Yeah,
probably for a good reason.
yeah, that's another thing people don't realize is like even now I still see people making up like Dark Souls 3 would have been so much better if they just did this, this, and this, and if like why didn't they do this? And it's like chances are they tried it and it wasn't that good, so they removed it, and that's why it's cut content. Like I've spoken
Mm-hmm.
about this before, but Dragon Rot and Sekiro, it originally killed NPCs, and yeah, that wasn't the fun, so they removed it, and like originally there wasn't the healing gourd in Sekiro either.
Yeah.
So imagining those two things together with the game's difficulty as
Yeah.
is, and it's like, sometimes things sound like good ideas until you actually do them, and
Yeah.
then you realize it's not actually a good idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know a whole lot about the development of Dark Souls 3 in particular, but I know that like a lot of the early stuff that leaked from the know, like people keep bringing that stuff up as an example of wow, Dark Souls 3 was rushed and it could have been so much better and this and that, and look at all this stuff that was cut. And it's like a lot of the stuff that was leaked from the know was very early stuff in that game's development, and like that I know for sure. And like it was more proof of concept than
Mm-hmm.
anything, and like at that point there wasn't really much of a game. It was just like, here are some cool things that we're thinking about messing around with, and as development progressed, it just didn't work out that way. So
Yeah.
the game you make up in your head is always going to be better than the one that actually happened, because the game you made up in your head didn't actually have to get tested and whatnot. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is speculation on my part, but it feels like with Dark Souls 3, knowing that Elden Ring started development after the DLCs for Dark Souls 3 were wrapping up, is just, Miyazaki said in an interview, like, there's a lot of stuff they couldn't do with Dark Souls that they wanted to do in Elden Ring. And, I'm sure, that's a mixture of narrative and gameplay and probably everything within the game. But you do get the sense that, like, sometimes they may have cut something because they couldn't get the version of that they wanted to. And I feel like with a lot of the Dark Souls 3 cut content, they were like, I'm not saying it's going to show up in Elden Ring, but I definitely got the feeling that maybe they were feeling the constraints of just Dark Souls at that point, and that Elden Ring is sort of this release for them. And they may go through it and be like, no, we still can't make it work. But that it seems like just because there's so much cut stuff, and I know there always is, but it seems like with Dark Souls 3, they were really trying for something and they kept changing. And Dark Souls 3 ended up being a great game. And, but I am excited to see, just knowing that they felt like there was some stuff they couldn't do, and maybe they even tried, but now's their chance to, like, test it out and get it in a game.
one thing I do want to say though is I don't want anyone to start digging through like Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls cut content and think that this is going to be an Elden Ring, because one of the discussions I have had discussions about that, and like, they don't really, like, if something's cut, again, it's probably cut for a good reason, so I wouldn't expect it to show up in another game. But like, they usually start from the kind of the ground up. But in terms of like ideas and stuff that they thought would be cool but couldn't do, rather than stuff they tested, I think would be more along the lines of
Mm-hmm.
what you're getting at, rather than like people digging through cut content and being
Yeah.
like, oh well, this is definitely going to be an Elden Ring, because yeah.
Yeah, like if it got to the point of being cut content, it went through concept artists, it went through initial modeling. Like if it was cut, it was they were trying to put it in the game most. So it's like a lot of I assume a lot of what Miyazaki's talking about sort of died before then. But just with the amount of cut stuff, there is that level of ambition you see with Dark Souls 3, and it just feels good knowing, like, I think Elden Ring is going to, as this like blank slate, give them the opportunity to just kind of go wild creatively with some of the stuff that maybe they were feeling a bit constrained about. And it is good to hear, because you always hear, like, oh well, that one area of Ariandel where it's kind of open, that's obviously Elden Ring. And then the Ringed City, there's that giant ass swamp that you kind of walk around in, that must be Elden Ring. And it's like, no, it's Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, because they're not gonna, they'll make cheeky references, but they're not like designing whole areas just like to see, like, okay, well, it worked in the Ring City, that means we're good to go for Elden Ring. Like, that
Or
would.
the fucking Millwood Nights that people seem to think is a teaser for Elden Ring. God, I hate
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I Man,
Well, because
I get irritated easily, but the fact that Norse shit is still going, it just
I was just about to make the joke. Yeah, Elden Ring. Well, it's a Norse RPG.
Jesus, makes me want
Yeah.
to peel my skin off and wear it as a cloak.
Yeah, it's like, well, if Elden Ring is going to be as much a Viking RPG as Dark Souls 2 was a Viking RPG, like,
Yeah, exactly.
they've always contained bits and pieces, but like, you don't hire George R. R. Martin to just
Recreate Norse mythology.
yeah, like it's there. And I know Norse mythology, it's kind of a tangent. Norse mythology is kind of a tricky mythology to like nail down, because a lot of it was oral tradition. But like, you could just find someone else if that's what you're gonna do. Like, you could just
Yeah,
read
for
up on
sure.
it. Like, Miyazaki is obviously extremely well read. He could probably do just fine. We've seen from Souls that the team knows that, but so it's, Yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny.
like in terms of inspirations and
Yeah.
lore, like they're going to be taking from a lot of different places as they usually do.
Mhm.
Like, but I wouldn't really expect the game to be based off of any single mythology or culture, because that's
Yeah.
just not really FromSoft's thing, you know?
Yeah.
They take from places and they're inspired by a bunch of different things, but they don't they don't really just wholesale lift entire things from elsewhere and just call it a day. Like even Sekiro, like if there was a place to do that, that would have been the place to do it, but even then a
Mhm.
lot of Sekiro is very original and FromSoft's take on their own Japanese mythology rather than just being lifted Japanese mythology like Neo is, for
Mhm.
example.
Yeah, yeah, totally different takes on stuff. Sekiro's much more fantastical, and like once again, as we mentioned, um, George R. R. Martin is, he's gonna have his own pool of interests, and it's not just gonna be Berserk references, and even Berserk references are usually on one level like a level of fan service, but it's usually visual generally in nature. Miyazaki's not lifting the story wholesale. He likes a design and it looks pretty close. And there can be thematic similarities, but I keep pushing the fact that George R. R. Martin's going to bring in his own extremely extensive pool of inspirations too, and he's going to talk. He talked with Miyazaki, and they came up with something totally different. It was a collaborative process, and it's not going to be quite what we're used to in terms, like, I'm sure the story and the visual will be similar as far as like them pulling references from stuff and what they do, but they have this whole other creative force who's also putting themselves into the project.
Yeah, but even then, like in terms of visuals, like they want to kind of separate and differentiate Elden Ring from Dark Souls as much as they possibly can. Like I discussed this before, there's only so far they can really pull that string. But, if possible, they do want Elden Ring to have its own identity, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like it's going more into high fantasy. It might follow a brighter color palette. So those things will all be pretty big ways where you can mix it up. I'm sure we'll still see gothic architecture, but it sounds like they have enough different things, and then with the story itself, with as you wrote in like the lore post, like the Elden Ring's been shattered. It's a high fantasy world. I think some weird shit's gonna happen in the landscape and the world. It's
Oh,
you
absolutely,
know
absolutely.
they're not just gonna let that idea sit there and then not capitalize on it. I'm sure that they almost worked backwards from the idea of having this really evocative, interesting world, and then they're like, oh, but why would that happen? Like, who knows? I'm just bullshitting right there, but like, it's they're not going to take an opportunity like that and not visually play around with it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm again excited to see the reactions to that and how people take to that. And I don't know, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff with this game in just every direction, and I couldn't be more excited to just fucking chill out in my room in the dark room and just live in there for a while, just playing this game and fully immersing myself in it once the game is actually out.
Yeah, me neither. And so there you go, two lore nerds doing everything they can not to talk about what we think the PvP and look like. But on that note, I think we should watch the trailer.
Sounds good.
Getting hyped up again. So.
I doubt you could even imagine it. That which commanded the stars giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something. Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky. It burns.
What a trailer.
Yep. Just as good as the first time, and as good as yesterday.
Yeah. Something I do really appreciate is just the visuals overall, and even like the vistas of that just destroyed battleground and the sun in the background coming through the red sky is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's got some intense colors, like deep reds, and then they have the other guy got some deep blues. It's got a lot of stuff. Yeah, gold is pervasive through there, which, is not lost to me. It's funny. I watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind for the first
I love that
time
movie
yesterday, and I was like, oh, that Valkyrie lady totally looks like that one princess.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, I think it's been mentioned. I doubt anything about this trailer that could be a reference hasn't been noted before. But now having the context, I was like, okay, yeah, I obviously saw Ash Lake in there, and then I was like, oh, that lady, and just speaking to their visual sort of references, I feel like given how much that they like Ghibli and how much it's been referenced before, there's no way that it wasn't a little bit on someone's mind when they were coming up with that design.
Oh, absolutely. I think that there is something else in the game that is also a reference to some of that, but I'll leave that alone for people to speculate on.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Look around. Slight hints out in the internet. Don't go too crazy. Someone's gonna go looking for like 50 hours, and I don't want to send someone on that quest. But yeah. So there we have it. Day, what is time anymore? Day 606.
On day 606.
Yep, day 606 of the trailer since it was first announced at E3 2019, and it still slaps. And
for sure.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Omnipotent, for coming on, chatting with me about Elden Ring, getting our thoughts out, and thank you for doing that, and just maybe giving a little hope, but also a little clarity for people. I know in this, extended
dark times.
The extended 2020 of silence for Elden Ring, but there's hope at the end of the tunnel someday. But maybe go play another game for a little while.
Yeah, probably play a game, multiple games, watch a movie, do something productive rather than harassing people online or posting fucking Whooper memes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I outed myself as like an old person because I had my little ranting video. And, the one thing is like harassing people online. That was the main takeaway. But I, unfortunately, in retrospect, I mentioned like the owing and stuff, spamming that in chats. And that's what I've gotten the most feedback on. And it's not a huge deal. I think it's kind of annoying. If it's an event where Elden Ring is obviously not going to be there, it's annoying to see. But like, that's fine, guys. Like, I don't hate you for doing that. It's all cool. We're all cool here. But harassing people, not cool. Like individuals, just leave them alone. As I said, I've heard enough from Omni to know. Just chill out. Like maybe don't stalk people.
You telling me that I shouldn't post Elden Ring at the Grammys live chat? You telling me it's not going to be there?
I think it just shows that I'm becoming an ancient gamer, that I would, The fact is I don't look at chats anyways, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube or wherever. The first thing I do is turn chat off. So I'm not the target audience for that anyways. So
Don't worry, me too, man. Me too.
it's all good if someone wants to do that. You're in a totally different league than someone bothering Omni or Jeff or Imran or any of Fawcetti or any of the number of other people. Whether
Or
they're
the man, the myth, the legend himself, Roberto Serrato.
yeah. Leave Roberto. I don't know. Maybe don't leave Roberto alone. I think maybe he's the exception, but still just be cool to people. But again, before I tangent too much, thank you so much for coming on, taking some time out to chat some Elden Ring, to come out of the shadows for a minute, give some hope.
Yeah, no worries, man. If you want to get me back in 60 days for that special number, I'll be here.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, and tune in next time.